What do you like about Georgia the most?
In October 7, 2023, and other many cases in our history. We're fighting that. We know how to fight. We know how to defend ourselves. But you can open the TikTok and you can see different. TikTok is full of, the other side, extreme.
First of all, thank you, Your Excellency, for making time for us. So let's start with basic questions.
Yes.
How long have you been the ambassador of Israel in Georgia?
Thank you very much, first of all, and welcome to the Embassy of Israel. And I appreciated this gesture that you coming and talking to me. I'm very happy for this opportunity. I've been here in Georgia as ambassador of the State of Israel since August last year, more likely about 9 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you like about Georgia the most?
I'm a diplomat in the past 26 years. I've been in 5 different countries, including Georgia, 4 countries before Georgia. And usually, when you prepare a diplomat for a new mission abroad, you always talk to us about cultural shock. But I'd say that this is the first time that I didn't feel any cultural shock when I just came to Georgia, because a lot of similarities between our 2 countries. I found them very open and hospitalized people and warm people, and similarity in the culture and history, and the food is good, the weather is good. So it's just a lovely country, and I felt at home from the first moment.
That's amazing. So what does the Embassy of Israel do to maintain connection between Georgians that left Israel for their close ones in Georgia?
Yeah. Look, you always probably hear about the history of Jewish people in Georgia, which goes back to 2,600 years ago and more. By the way, it's one of the oldest Jewish presence in any other country, and it has been a very positive experience and a model to follow for coexistence between different nations, not different nations, but between different cultures and different ethnicities who are living together in harmony and peace. It's really amazing. And now this historic ties between the Jewish nation and the Georgian nations helps a lot in having a very strong bonds between the State of Israel and Georgia. The State of Israel was among the first countries to recognize the independence of Georgia in the 90s, and the 4th embassy to be opened here in Tbilisi in 1992. Since then, we are here and we are working. We're having a lot of projects and things to do with the government, but also mainly with the people-to-people ties. There's a big Jewish Georgian community in Israel, one of the most vibrant communities in Israel. In Israel, we have communities from over than 100 countries around the world, but the Jewish Georgian community is very vibrant, very dynamic. And what is amazing that I found that this community, I get to know them just recently, that they are preserving the Georgian language and culture. Even young generation who was born in Israel after the parents emigrated from or made aliyah from Georgia to Israel, they still speaking very frequent Georgian, and the culture and the food and everything. So they together with the Jewish community here, they serve as a very positive and good bridge between the 2 states, and we appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now let's move to a bit more cosmopolitan questions, shall we?
Okay.
So in recent years, many observers have noted a visible rise of anti-Semitic rhetoric and hostility in different parts of the world, including within academic, political, and online spaces.
Yes.
So, from your perspective, what are the main factors of driving the phenomenon today, and how should democratic societies respond it while preserving open dialogue and freedom of expression?
Yeah. No, thank you. It's a very good question, an important one. Anti-Semitism has always existed in many societies, in many places. Fortunately, not that much in Georgia. I can say that honestly and frankly, we don't experience anti-Semitic attacks, physical attacks and things. Somewhere we saw different comments and different posts, but I don't give it that much attention, because I know that's out of ignorance. But generally, anti-Semitism, it has shifted from different types of anti-Semitism. We have this classical anti-Semitism that it's now hardly exists, and if it exists, it's out of ignorance mainly. It's about, very going back to 2,000, 3,000 years ago. But the new anti-Semitism, which is very, very annoying and very concerning, is that the word don't make the difference between Israel and Israelis and Jews and not also don't make this difference between legal and criticism and the anti-Semitism. They mix everything together. They don't know the difference between freedom. They cross the freedom of expression at this domain of anti-Semitism very easily without being careful to any red line or any border on that. And we see it in societies that they don't have a democratic regime or don't have the democratic government or governance at their country, but when it comes to Israel, it's very easy to put it as a freedom of expression and criticizing the acts of the state of Israel and crossing the line to having that, describing it as or going to the a place where it's already anti-Semitism and not legal criticism of the state of Israel or a legitimate criticism. In Israel is under it has gone through more than 10 or 12 wars in its 78 years. All of them are defensive wars. We live in a very hostile and not stable region. And we are alone there at that region. It's very easy that you attack the lonely country in the Middle East. Usually, we're surrounded by many countries that they ignore. They have some kind of ignorance toward Israel. They don't know even. They have never been exposed in their countries to what Israel is, and all that, but they have in mind that Israel is their enemy, and Israel is going to expand in the Middle East. And Israel was built on the Palestinian land, and it's a colony, it's a Western colony. All this is of course untrue, but when it passes from generation to generation, it's very hard to tackle this. So, making this long story short, legitimate criticism is very welcome by Israel. And by the way, the most critical to the government of Israel is Israeli press and Israeli NGOs. And by the way, many of them also they rely on Israeli sources, but they twist it. They twist it. And this is unfortunate that this is the situation. We try to explain, we try to do our best, but it's sometimes it's a very hard battle to take.
Thank you, Excellency. So this pretty much comes to the next connectional question that we have to ask. In periods of, once again, rising extremism and polarization globally, do you believe democracies sometimes underestimate the danger of radical ideologies until these ideologies become deeply normalized within the public society?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes, you are right. And we have been saying that for many years. Israel, everything that we have been saying, and they did in the West, they didn't believe us that much, is happening after that. We were warning of this very radical, ideological, extremist Islamic movement in the Middle East. We saw in Al-Qaeda what they did in New York in 2001. We have been warning against Hezbollah in Lebanon, and we see what Hezbollah is doing. And they're harming mainly the Lebanese society and Lebanon itself. We know how to fight Hezbollah, and we're fighting Hezbollah. We have been warning against the extremism, the extreme ideology of the regime in Tehran, the Islamic regime of Tehran. And we see now the consequences of that. We're fighting that. We know how to fight. We know how to defend ourselves. But we see also ourselves as defending the values of the West at that part of the world. But we don't have that much support from the West. on that for different reasons. I don't want to get into that reasons. Any of them is not convincing. They can say, oh, it's a political situation, internal situation. We have a Muslim minorities in our countries, etc., etc. No, we cannot fully agree with such kind of excuses. But we have been warning for many time, and I think that this is, I don't want to go that far to say that we are in a clash of civilizations. I hope we are not. But, sometimes extremism and extreme ideologies are a danger to our Western values. And unfortunately, not all Western countries see it as we see it. Some, yes, not all of them.
Thank you. Well, you as an ambassador, how do you explain Israel to younger generations abroad who may know the country primarily through the fragmented social media narratives rather than historical or in geopolitical context?
Yeah. Look, unfortunately, the press also in the West, they don't make us they don't show us in the right way. Because Israel is not a one-issue state. It's not only about conflicts, not only about wars. We have to fight these wars because others are starting these wars, like in October 7, 2023, and other many cases in our history. Israel is much different, and Israel is a story of success, a startup nation. Few people knows, for instance, like Israel has more than 6,500 startups, which is per capita number one in the world. Is the second Silicon center in the world after San Francisco is in Israel, Tel Aviv. Israel is investing the first number one in the world in investing in R&D, research and development. More than 5.5% of our GDP goes for research and development, and that's what makes us a very advanced country in technologies. And now in AI, we are doing very well in AI. We're doing very well despite the wars with the economy. We are number one. We have passed all the Western countries now with the growth of with the expected growth of Israel. The economy of Israel in 2026 and 2027 is over 5%. We don't see it in money. We don't see it in the UK. We don't see it in France even. Inflation rate is less than 2%. Unemployment rate is about 3% only. Despite all these difficulties, we are a very successful society. We are a very successful country in economy, in technology, in science. A lot of inventions, medical inventions, and in agriculture, in water management, in healthcare, you name it. I think we are a very advanced country, and this is not many people in the world know about it. So this is unfortunately because the press is focusing on the bad things and the negative things usually and not showing the positive things. And Israel is also a bridge between, where we sit in the Middle East and with our Western system and values, we can be a very good bridge between West and East. And this is a lot of advantages in that as well.
Thank you, Excellency. So I might ask a bit personal question.
Yes, please.
So personally, what do you think concerns the future of the democratic development? Is this military threats, ideological extremism, or the erosion of the historical memory?
I would say that personally, I think that the most dangerous phenomena or thing to the Western values and democratic system is the rise of extreme ideological groups, extreme groups, or non-state actors that we didn't know. We know it more recently. In the past, you used to have a classical armies that fighting each other, but now if you look about the wars, us, United States and others, it's a state against non-state actor that they don't obey to any rule, any international law. And the more that dangerous than that is the support they get from Western political parties or groups or movements, usually from the left, like this meeting between the extreme ideological non-state actors in the East with the Western left and also from the very far right. Together, it makes it very dangerous to the democratic societies in the West, not only in Israel. We see, just look at what's happening in London, in Paris, in other places, in the United States even. When you have these clashes on demonstrations, and when you have all this support that they give to the terrorist organizations, even the academia. You know, we all remember after October the 7th, all this movement of the leading universities in the United States with all these anti-Semitic demonstrations that allowed in the academy, like in the name of the freedom of academy. No, sorry, it's not a freedom of academy. When you support a terrorist organization that is, according to your law, is illegal, it's not freedom of expression, it's not freedom of academy.
Okay, thank you. So how can we, for example, the youth, people, intellectuals, civil society, respond to the growing spread of anti-Semitism and its propaganda and hatred in today's world before it reaches a dangerous proportions or level?
You know, if you're talking about the youth, and some call it a Gen Z, so it's all about the new generation that is much more smarter than us, much more clever than us, but much more depends on the digital media and networks like TikTok and Instagram and et cetera, et cetera. And in these platforms, there is a lot of misinformation and disinformation. And but I trust. I would like to trust all youth everywhere to be enough clever to use their wisdom to know what is true and what's not true, and to seek for the truth. I mean, you know, you can open the TikTok and you can see different videos, and usually the TikTok is full of, you know, the other side. I mean, the other side for me is the other side. Even the non-state actors and all these extreme groups, they use that and they spread a lot of misinformation and disinformation, and people look at, you know, but I trust the new generation, in the West at least, to know, to make the distinction between what is false, what is fake, and what's true, and to seek the truth.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now let's move to the connections between the two countries, such as Israel and Georgia.
Can I ask a question as well?
Yes.
About your answer that most of the problem is coming from the social media.
Yes.
I wanted to know, like, how can we respond? Like, we know that this is a problem. We know that this may become a huge problem, especially in Georgia, because we have a very strong Jewish community. So how can we respond? Should we, like, for example, use the social media as well for our advantage, like to spread the informative videos on social media? Should we try to talk with them, or what do you believe would be the most appropriate way to spread the awareness by us? Like, what can the youth, how can the youth support you in this case?
I can give you I can tell you what I do. Usually, and especially recently during the war with Iran, at the beginning of the war, when we were posting things in our Facebook page, the embassy's Facebook page, and we see all these comments. I don't read Georgian, unfortunately, but you see the translation. I used to go through the comments and see all these kind of conspiracies that people raising about Israel and etc. etc. It make me a bit of angry, and it's tempting, like to write something or to no. But I said no, let's ignore it. Other people, everyone has the choice. In the social media, everyone is the master of himself or herself. You can do whatever you want. Some people choose just to comment back, and then to get into debate with them. And such kind of people with this, generally. People who believe in conspiracy theories, I don't debate with them. You will never convince them. They stuck with their conspiracies. So I usually ignore them, but then I use that in the next post, and then they try to have a control over what I want the people to know and to see and to watch. What others comment, I will leave it for the people of different commenters to debate on that. I don't do that as an ambassador, as an embassy. But going back to your question regarding the media, I think that it's people should think that when they come, not all of them, but I would expect the ones who've been raised in societies like in Georgia, in Israel, in the West, or something like, to be enough honest with themselves, and to publish or to talk about things, even to criticize, but to be based on facts. Okay, everyone has his opinion. You can say your opinion, but to be careful of how you see it. And if you watch something that you don't like, I think that each one has his approach. I mean, you can ignore it, you can answer it, but I trust the common sense of general public to know what is wrong and what's not wrong, and to judge it as everyone as according to his understanding.
Thank you. Now, coming back to the previous question, Georgia and Israel are both ancient nations that had to preserve their identity through centuries of geopolitical pressure and external domination. So, do you believe this shared historical experience creates a special understanding between our people?
Yes, of course. This is, I said it at the beginning, this is a very basic and a good foundation of our relations. You know, this history of the Georgian and the Jewish peoples are the foundation and the basic and a good foundation for our relations between the two states now, the modern states. And you know, I can give you a lot of indications for how it is successful. For instance, last year, 2025, we had here more than 400,000 Israeli tourists came to Georgia. It's number 4 by countries, but it's misleading. It's number 1. I tell you why number 1. Because the first 3 countries is Russia, Turkey, and Armenia. 3 of them has borders with Georgia. We don't have a border. The first country that doesn't share a border with Georgia, number 1 in tourism, is Israel. And these countries, when they share a border, you know, not every entrance to Georgia by citizens of these countries is a tourism. It's, you know, daily workers and etc., etc. So if you clean all of this, I would tell you that the Israelis are the most the number 1 in tourism and visiting of Georgia, and because, as I said, because of the history of the two nations and because of the culture of the Georgian people and the beauty of this country. So this serves us as well. It is a very huge advantage in also developing and enhancing our bilateral relations between the two countries.
Thank you.